Okay, in this video lesson, I'm going to be showing how to solve quadratic equations by graphing. Now, previously, we have looked at solving a quadratic equation by factoring. So once we got the equation in standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c, and we set it equal to 0, then we could factor the trinomial. In this example, the factors are x plus 6 times x minus 1. And then when we set each one of those factors equal to 0, we see that x equals -6 and x equals 1. These are the two solutions to this quadratic equation. Well, over here you can see a diagram of the graph of this quadratic equation or this quadratic function, and you can see that it crosses the x-axis or intersects the x-axis at -6 and 1. And those are the solutions. Solutions are found where the graph intersects the x-axis, okay? So this is showing both examples, and this lesson specifically we're looking at graphing. So we'll do a couple practice problems where we are graphing. So in this one, solve the following equation by graphing. The equation is originally given as x squared plus 10x equals 6x plus 21. Before you can use the graphing calculator, you have to make sure that the equation is in standard form, which simply means we have the x squared, the x to the 1 power, and the c, or the ax squared plus bx and c, all on the same side. So in this example, I had to subtract 6x from the right side to cancel it, or to get rid of it. So I have to subtract 6x from 10x on the left side, and I was left with 4x. The plus 21, we would have to subtract it from the right side, so minus 21. And over here, we would be subtracting 21, but from 0, which just is -21. So it's like we brought it over here and it became the opposite, -21. Well, when we put this in standard form, now we have x squared plus 4x minus 21, and this is what I put into the graphing calculator. Now, this is a diagram of the Desmos graphing calculator that is EOC approved. The graphing calculator that you could use on the STAR test or the EOC Algebra 1 exam. So when we put it in, x squared plus 4x minus 21, we see a diagram of the graph, and it crosses the x-axis at -7 and 3. Those are the solutions to this quadratic equation. X equals -7 and x equals 3. Let's take a look at one. Okay, and in this problem, again, we're solving the following by graphing. So we have a quadratic equation, x squared plus 5x plus 8 equals 5x plus 24. Okay, the first thing we need to do is put this in standard form and then set that equation equal to 0. So on the right side here, I'm going to need to get rid of both 5x and the constant 24. So I'll be subtracting 5x from the right side and, of course, subtracting it from the left side. When I do that, we subtract 5x on the right to cancel them here, but we subtract 5x here. Well, you'll see 5x and minus 5x also cancels on this side. So really the x to the 1 power is going away, or the bx of the standard form is going to be 0, or just goes away. And then we have to subtract 24 from the right side, so we would be subtracting 24 from the left side. And when we do 8 minus 24, we get -16. So this equation in standard form is going to be 1x squared minus 16. And we will set that equal to 0. And again, previously I taught you how to factor this. This is actually called the difference of two squares. But if we graphed it using the calculator, we just put x squared minus 16 into the graphing calculator. And when we graph it, we'll see that it intersects the x-axis at -4 and +4. So these are our solutions. X equals -4 and x equals +4. So we have learned that if you simply put the equation into standard form, you can graph it and look where it crosses the x-axis, and that will give you the solutions. You could also use these solutions then to write the factors, because you know if x equals -4 is one of those solutions, That's because it had a factor of x plus 4. We kind of work backwards. And then on the other side, if x equals 4 was a solution, that's because it had a factor of x minus 4. But remember what we learned about this difference of two squares is that you could factor it by adding the square roots, which the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 16 is 4. So you can add the square roots and subtract the square roots, and that's how you factor it. But again, if you didn't remember that, if you graph that into, if you put this into the graphing calculator, you can see that the solutions are -4 and +4, okay? All right, and again, that's a lesson on solving quadratic equations by graphing.